Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast series on politics and climate change in California. This is episode 9, and today we're tackling a life-and-death issue for the Golden State, the water crisis. We'll be diving deep into drought, agriculture, and the complex policies trying to keep California from running dry. Now, California is famous for its sunshine and generally dry weather. So, what's changed? Why has drought suddenly become such a terrifying and constant problem?
Well, there are really three main reasons coming together to create a perfect storm. First, California's semi-arid climate is naturally prone to low rainfall. It's just the way the geography is. Second, climate change is throwing gasoline on that fire. We're seeing longer, more intense droughts, and crucially, less snowpack in the Sierra Nevada mountains. That snow is like a natural reservoir, slowly melting and feeding our rivers and man-made reservoirs throughout the spring and summer. With less snow, we have less runoff. And third, California's thirst for water is simply enormous. We have tens of millions of residents who need water to live, plus a massive world-renowned agricultural sector that is incredibly water-dependent.
I've heard that agriculture uses a gigantic amount of water. Is that really true?
Absolutely. It's a staggering figure. While California only accounts for about 12% of the total farmland in the United States, it produces nearly a third of the nation's fruits and vegetables and a huge portion of its nuts. Think about it. A lot of what you see in the produce aisle comes from here. But crops like almonds, pistachios, and walnuts are extremely water-intensive. To give you some perspective, it takes nearly a gallon of water to grow just one single almond. When you add it all up, agriculture consumes about 80% of California's available fresh water. That's a massive slice of the pie. So with agriculture using 80%,
what about ordinary residents like you and me? How are we being affected by all of this?
Oh, the effects are very direct. During severe droughts, which seem to be happening more and more often, the state government will call on, or even mandate, that residents conserve water. You'll see restrictions on watering your lawn, bans on washing your car at home, and in some cases, hefty fines for excessive water use. Beyond the rules, your wallet feels it too. Household water bills almost always rise when supplies get tight. The less water there is, the more expensive it becomes for everyone. It's a direct impact on our daily lives and our budgets. I definitely remember that.
During the big drought from 2012 to 2016, weren't Californians required to cut household water use by a huge margin, something like 25%, under a direct order from the governor?
That's exactly right. And that period was a wake-up call for many. It was one of the harshest droughts in the state's recorded history. The impacts were devastating. We saw hundreds of thousands of acres of productive farmland left fallow, just turned to dust because there was no water to plant anything. Even more frighteningly, many small, rural communities, especially in the Central Valley, saw their wells completely run dry. People were literally without water coming out of their taps. It was a true crisis that showed just how vulnerable our system is.
So in the face of such a crisis, what policies has California actually adopted to respond? What's the game plan?
There isn't one single magic bullet, so the state is trying a multi-pronged approach. First, there's the traditional method: infrastructure for storing and distributing water. This means massive projects like dams, reservoirs, and the complex system of canals that move water from the wetter north to the drier, more populated south. Second, there's a big push for recycling wastewater. This involves treating used water to a high standard, making it safe for things like irrigating fields, golf courses, or even after advanced treatment for drinking. Third, some coastal communities are looking at desalinating seawater, literally turning ocean water into fresh water, though the costs and energy use for that remain very high. And fourth, and this is a huge one, there's a focus on reforming agriculture. This means encouraging farmers to switch to more efficient methods like drip irrigation, which delivers water directly to the plant's roots, planting less water-hungry crops, and in some cases, reducing the total acreage of extremely thirsty crops like almonds and alfalfa.
Didn't California also pass a major law recently regarding groundwater, the water that's underground?
Yes, that was a landmark piece of legislation. It's called the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, and it was passed in 2014. This was a huge deal because for decades, farmers and others were basically pumping water from underground aquifers with very little oversight. It was like a free-for-all. In a drought, when surface water from rivers and reservoirs disappears, everyone starts drilling wells and pumping groundwater. SGMA forces local agencies to develop and stick to long-term plans to prevent draining these aquifers dry. It's a slow, difficult process, but it is the first real attempt to manage this invisible but critical water source for the long term. I can only imagine that with so much at stake, water policy in California must be filled with conflict.
You are absolutely right. It's one of the most contentious political issues in the state.
Think about all the competing interests. Urban residents in cities like Los Angeles and San Diego want a reliable, affordable supply for their daily needs. Farmers, who are the backbone of a multi-billion-dollar industry, need massive amounts of water for irrigation just to keep their businesses and our food supply alive. Then you have environmental groups who are fighting to leave more water in the rivers to protect fragile ecosystems. Declining water levels have had a devastating impact on salmon runs and the migratory birds that depend on our wetlands. On top of all that, you have the classic north versus south divide. Most of the rain and snow falls in the north, but most of the population and a lot of the farmland is in the south. Figuring out how to share that water is a constant political battle.
Looking ahead then, what does the future hold for California's water?
Unfortunately, the science is pretty clear. Climate change will almost certainly make things worse. We can expect longer and more severe dry spells, more erratic rainfall, so bigger storms, but longer periods with no rain at all, and a faster snowmelt, which means the water runs off all at once in the spring instead of being stored as snow. California will have to get much more aggressive about combining all the solutions we've talked about. More recycling, stricter management of both surface and groundwater, fundamental shifts in crop patterns, and real lasting changes in our own consumer habits. In the long run, I think we all may have to accept that water scarcity is the new normal for California, not just a temporary problem that happens during drought years.
So, to sum it all up, the story of water in California isn't just about nature or rainfall. It's a deeply political, economic, and social issue. Who gets the water? How much they get? And for what purpose? These are all fundamental policy decisions that will shape the future of the state. Thank you so much for breaking that all down for us. It's an incredibly complex topic, but you've made it much clearer. Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode informative, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next one. We'll see you then.